Hi, hope you're having a great day. You're watching JFG Entertainment, and for this video, I'm going to be breaking down the box office of February, which means I'm going to break down each movie that came out in February's box office, as well as other movies that were before February that have been doing very well in February. So that's going to be a very interesting video. I'm going to cover the movies of Uncharted, Dog, Marry Me, Dead on the Nile, Jackass Forever, Spider-Man No Way Home, Moonfall, and a little bit of Scene 2. So yeah, it's going to be a really nice, interesting video for the box office. You want to skip to any movie, it's a box office breakdown, you can just check in the description. I will have time codes for each movie, so you can just skip onto a movie if you were interested in a specific movie and you don't really care about another movie. You can just check that down below. And I'll also be giving you some like maybe box office predictions over the Batman after seeing the reviews and everything. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun and interesting video. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and you do end up enjoying it, then please make sure to leave a like. It will be very, very helpful. I put a lot of effort into this video, so definitely make sure to leave a like. As well as subscribe for a lot of other content. I do one of these videos around every week. Every time like a big movie comes out, I do one of these videos. As well as every month, I do a month breakdown video like this one. So subscribe for all the content, especially expect the Batman opening weekend box office breakdown. So expect that video for sure, and a lot more. So subscribe, as well as just leave a comment down below on which movie did you see this month. I'm definitely very curious, and which one was your favorite. I'm also definitely very curious. So tell me that down in the comments. Okay, now let's get started. Alright, so to start this box office breakdown, I'm going to start with Uncharted. And Uncharted is by far the biggest movie that came out in February, which is the reason why I'm going to start it, as well as it's the most recent one, so it's the one that has the most chatter. So let's start with Uncharted. And Uncharted had an opening weekend of $44 million on its 3-day opening weekend, but it did debut on a special weekend. So for its 4-day holiday weekend, which was on President's Day, it made $51 million. So that was really, really impressive. Honestly, it beat expectations by a lot. Expectations were around 30 million, so the fact that it did 44 million and then 50 million, it was really, really good. So that's great. The movie scaled more male than female by 60%. There was 60% of the audience was male, and roughly around 70% of the audience was under 35 years. So that means and proves that, yeah, younger moviegoers are the ones carrying the movies throughout the pandemic right now. You really have to appeal to the younger audience if you want to have a box office hit. This does get proven later on with different movies that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but this is the first example that we see that, yes, you have to have younger audience moviegoers to have a box office hit, especially during the pandemic when most of the older generation moviegoers aren't going to theaters, especially not anywhere near as much. Okay, moving on to the second weekend, which was just this past weekend, and it had a second weekend drop of 47.7%, earning $23 million, which is really, really good. It didn't even get to a 50% drop, so that's really good. That was a really nice hold. Of course, there was hope that it didn't have any competition at all this weekend. This upcoming weekend is going to have the Batman, so I expect that to have a pretty massive drop, but at least it had 2 free weekends to itself, and it's definitely doing really good on it. This leaves a total domestic box office at $83.1 million, which is just really, really good. Next weekend is for sure going to cross $100 million and domestically, which is really, really good. So that's great for this movie. The international box office for this movie is at $143 million, which is also really, really strong internationally. Like, wow, it's doing amazing internationally. This means the total box office hasn't just crossed the century mark, but it's doubled the century mark, where the movie now stands at $226.1 million, which is really, really nice. That's a really nice box office number after 2 weekends. That's really, really nice for sure. This movie also had the very late to land a Chinese release date on March 14, which is really nice. Like, it's very rare that Hollywood movies are landing Chinese release dates for some reason. So the fact that this movie is getting a Chinese release date is really, really awesome. So I do think that this movie can do pretty well in Chinese release date, especially when you consider movies like Free Guy, where Free Guy did come out in China last year and it did amazing in China. So I do think that this movie could follow Free Guy's success and do amazing in China as well. So that's great. Definitely gonna have a really strong international box office, and it's definitely gonna be super huge hit. The movie does have a budget of $120 million, which means this movie was expensive to make. It was definitely very expensive, and that's not counting marketing. Marketing is a completely different thing. So it still has a little bit way to go to make profit. However, it's already doubled its regular, well, it's almost doubled its regular budget, so I can definitely see this movie making profit, and that's good. That means this movie was definitely a hit. A sequel's already being teased with this great hold. Like I said, it didn't even get to 50%, so it definitely had a great hold. And yeah, definitely expect it to happen. Definitely expect a sequel to happen, and most likely a trilogy, and so on and so on. They're definitely going to build some sort of franchise out of here, because trust me, Sony needs the franchises. All they have right now is Spider-Man, so they need more franchises. Tom Holland is also about to get the biggest paycheck of his life with the next Spider-Man trilogy. I mean, this movie is crazy. Like, it did so much money, and Spider-Man Home did even more money, so now you can definitely position Tom Holland to be like one of the biggest stars in Hollywood right now, which means he's gonna get an incredible amount of paycheck for his Spider-Man new trilogy. So just wait for that. Whenever the report comes out, I'm gonna be very interested to see how much millions of dollars he gets paid. Like, he's probably gonna be the most paid actor in Hollywood, to be honest. The movie still has ways to go, so I definitely expect to keep making even more money. So yeah, this movie was definitely a huge hit, and I'm very proud of Uncharted. I haven't seen it actually, so I would like to hear your thoughts on the comments. I'm definitely curious. What do you think about it? Because I know so far word of mouth has been mixed, so I don't really know whether it's good or bad. So tell me what you thought about it down in the comments. Okay, moving on to the next movie, and that is going to be Dog, because Dog is also one of the most recent movies that came out. So let's go to Dog. And Dog opened to $14.9 million on its 3-day opening weekend last weekend, which was second place, just behind Uncharted, which makes a lot of sense. And then it had an $18 million 4-day opening weekend. Like I said, it opened on a holiday weekend, just like Uncharted, on President's Day. So it had an $18 million 4-day opening weekend, which is really, really strong. Then this past weekend, the weekend that just passed, which was the second weekend, it had a drop of 32%, which is a really, really small drop. So that's really good. It had a lot to hold, earning $10.1 million. Just like an amazing, amazing hold. That's really, really strong. So that's great for this movie. The total domestic box office now stands at $30.8 million, which is really, really good. Internationally, the box office is not as strong, nowhere near as strong, where it only has made $1.5 million, mostly from the UK, but it hasn't opened in any other big markets, including in the UK. It was kind of a flop, so it's not going to do any money internationally, but it does kind of help a little bit. So the total box office stands at $32.4 million, which is, at first, doesn't seem like a lot. At first, it's like, oh, this movie did it bad. But no, it's actually a really good amount, especially when you consider its budget, where this movie had a budget of $15 million. So it already doubled its budget just on the second weekend, and with these amazing holds, I definitely expected to like maybe even triple it. Maybe. But that would be really good. So the movie's definitely going to make a lot of money. Especially when this movie has a really strong word of mouth with an A- cinema score, a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes for the critic score, and then a 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, this movie's definitely going to make more money, and it's definitely going to be a smaller type of hit, but it's still a really nice hit movie. So that's really good. Tell me if you've seen it down in the comments. I don't even know what the movie's about, but it seems to be captivating audiences. So tell me what it is down in the comments if you've seen it, and what do you think about it. Alright, moving on to Dead on the Nile. And Dead on the Nile opened at number 1 whenever it opened at the opening weekend, earning $12.9 million. And that's a pretty respectable number. It wasn't like great, it wasn't like, oh my god, this is mind blowing, but that was a pretty respectable number. Then on Valentines Day, it went down to second spot, earning $2.6 million, which was a little bit less than expected because the number 1 spot beat it, but it was still a nice number. Then it had a second weekend drop of 49.3%, which is another great hold at the box office, especially during the pandemic, where most of the movies, especially like these type of movies, have been dropping down like 60%. So that was really good. So with this drop, it earned $6.5 million for its 3-day weekend, and then $7.5 million for its 4-day weekend, because it was a holiday weekend, like I said. And then on its 3rd weekend, which is just this past weekend, it dropped 31.4%, even a smaller drop than last weekend, which is really, really good. So it's a really low drop, 31.4%. It's a really small drop, earning $4.5 million, which is pretty strong. This puts the movie at a domestic total of $68.5 million, which is just super nice for this movie. Like, that's pretty good. And internationally, the movie has made $49.9 million. Also a pretty nice, strong number. This puts the total box office of the movie at $101.2 million, meaning it has crossed the century mark, which is really nice. However, the movie does have a budget of $90 million, which means that the movie isn't close to breaking even, because that's without counting marketing, so it still hasn't broken even. I do expect the movie to break even, and then I do expect it to make even more money when it gets PVOD, because it's definitely going to be a huge hit in PVOD. So yeah, it's definitely going to break even, but it's not going to be a huge success with its budget, because it was a really expensive movie for the type of movie that it is. But still, it was a nice hit during the pandemic, and I do think it was a hit of February. It wasn't like the biggest hit, but it was a nice hit. Moving on to Jackass Forever, which opened on the first week of February, and Jackass Forever debuted at number 1 on its opening weekend, earning $23.1 million, which was a pretty nice opening weekend, to be honest. And part of the reason why this opening weekend was a pretty nice weekend was because only 25% of the audience was over 35, which is actually very, very interesting. And 65% of the audience was between 18 and 34. So that's crazy. That just goes to show you that, yes, the younger audience really does matter to these movies. Like, really younger audience is the ones that are carrying the box office hits. Just like I mentioned with Uncharted, you need younger audiences to be going to your movies and to get interested in your movies to have a box office hit. And this proves it. Even though this franchise is really old and it seems like it would appeal more to older moviegoers, the movie really did amazing marketing to caught to younger viewers, like a lot of amazing marketing, especially skewed young things to the TikTok generation, because we live in a generation where there's like a lot of trends and TikTok and doing like these challenges and everything. And guess what? Jackass Forever is just that. It's just doing challenges, just like really extreme challenges for a lot of money. So they definitely promoted it a lot on TikTok, which makes a lot of sense. Marketing was amazing there. Then they went to the WWE, marketing it to younger viewers and also older viewers, but mostly younger viewers, to see this new installment of the franchise. So it definitely paid off big time. It definitely allowed younger viewers to get interested in it, especially, like I said, I do think that TikTok did a lot of heavy lifting for it, because it's a challenge type of thing where you have to make challenges challenges and everything. So I think it definitely fit in right in. So yeah, marketing definitely worked for this movie, and young moviegoers definitely showed up for this movie, which is why this movie was a hit. And it's a huge win, especially when the movie has a budget of $10 million, meaning that the movie is definitely going to be very, very profitable, like really, really profitable. So that's really, really good. Then on the second weekend, it got second place, beating Marry Me, but then falling to third place on Valentines. So that's really interesting. It dropped 65.1% on its second weekend, earning $8 million, which was a really insane drop. That was actually really, really high. However, it did have competition, so I don't know what to say about that. It did have competition. I guess it's respectable. Then on its third weekend, the movie dropped 35.6%, which is already a way stronger hold than last time, which is really nice, earning $5.2 million and $6.1 million for its fourth weekend, because like I said, that was a holiday weekend, which is really nice. It definitely helped out the movie. Then this past weekend, which was its fourth weekend, it dropped a total of 39.6%, which is an average hold. It's not incredible, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just like an average hold, earning $3.1 million, which means that the movie is definitely still making money, which is good. The domestic total of the movie now stands at $52 million, which is really, really nice. And the international box office for the movie is at $16 million, but that's not surprising because the movie was never an international franchise. It was always domestic. So that's the international box office, just kind of like an add-on or like a little boost. But really, the domestic box office is what matters for this movie. So this means that the worldwide total box office for this movie is at $68 million, which is really good, especially like I said, it has a $10 million budget. So this movie definitely was very, very profitable, and this movie was definitely one of the biggest hits of February, if not the second biggest hit of February, just behind Uncharted, because it's super profitable. So that's really good for this movie. A great box office hit, and showing you that Hollywood is going to keep going for those cheap movies. Like this one, it was very, very cheap, and I'm going to talk about another one that's very, very cheap because they keep making a lot of money. This one makes a lot of money. Scream was very cheap on January, and it made a lot of money. So cheap movies, you can take a lot of different risks with them, and then if they pay off big time, which is why I think Hollywood is definitely going to keep investing into those cheap movies and hopefully make like really nice money off them. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Hollywood might keep doing this trend of making smaller, cheaper movies in general. And you can see that with rom-com Marry Me, which came out this month, starring Jennifer Lopez, Maluma, and Owen Wilson. And the movie opened at third place, earning $7.9 million. So not incredible opening at third place. However, this movie, they have a simultaneous release on Peacock, so I don't want to say that to start things off. And also for Valentine's Day, the movie went up to #1 spot, earning $3 million that day, meaning that its rom-com theme definitely worked on the day. Unfortunately, Valentine's was on a Monday, so it had like pretty bad luck. Maybe it was like during the weekend, when Supermall wasn't going on, it would have done a lot better, because I think that would have really, really been a huge hit for it. But unfortunately, it was on a Monday, which sucks. But at least it got #1 on Valentine's Day, which is something that the movie can brag, and it definitely made money on Valentine's Day. Then it had a second weekend drop of 53%, which is actually really good hold. It's not incredible, but it is a pretty good hold, earning $3.7 million. And this is especially impressive because it was on Peacock, like I said, and it had been on #1 on the streaming service for a whole week since its release, even over a week since its release, with the exception of one day, which is the day that the Super Bowl took place. So for around a little bit over a whole week, it had been #1 on the streaming service, so that's good. The movie was definitely a hit in Peacock. I don't have any official viewership numbers, but according to Peacock, it was #1. So we're gonna have to trust their word, and I do believe it. I don't think they would be lying. I do believe it. And the box office money, like I said, is still making some money. 53% drop is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad, especially with a simultaneous release. That's pretty good. Then on its third weekend, it had a drop of 50%, earning $1.8 million, which is a decent amount. It's not that great. It's still a drop 50%, and usually when you drop over 50% or 50% on your third weekend, it's not great. However, simultaneous release messes that thing up, so I don't really know if it's a good drop or a bad drop, so I'm just gonna be like meh. So that puts its domestic total at $20.2 million, which is okay. It's not terrible, it's not bad, it's there. It's also like average, you know what I mean? Internationally, the movie is doing a little bit better with $23.7 million total. And one thing that I do want to point out is that the movie was #1 in Colombia, which is a really nice thing for Maluma, which is a Colombian singer, to be able to brag out, who's a star in this movie. That's really good. It opened #1 in Colombia, and it was #1 in Colombia for a couple weeks, so that's really good. I think that's a really nice thing for Maluma to be able to say that he does have the pull in his country. That's really nice, so that's good. This was the movie's total box office at $44 million, which is like I said, average. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's just average. But it is pretty good whenever you consider that the budget of this movie was $23 million. So this movie will definitely make profit. It already kind of almost doubled its budget, and I definitely think that along with it being available on Peacock, it has made enough money back, I think. So that's really good. And that just goes to show you that yes, this movie was a little bit of a cheaper movie, which is why it can make money. If it had the budget of Dead in the Nile, where it was like $90 million, then this movie would be considered a huge flop. But because it's a lot cheaper, $23 million, then the movie can take this amount of money and not call it a flop, flop, but instead call it a hit. So that's good. I do think that Marry Me was a rom-com hit. I do think that if Hollywood does decide to continue doing rom-coms, I do think that they're going to go to streaming, or they're going to be cheap like this movie, which is fine. I thought this movie, well, it definitely had a cheaper budget. I actually thought it looked really, really nice. Like, visually speaking and cinematography speaking, I thought it looked really nice. Even with its a lower budget, I thought it looked expensive. So that's really interesting. If you want to check out whether this movie is worth watching or not, I actually did a review on it, so you can check it out right here. If you want to check out whether I should go see it on Peacock, go check it out. I think you definitely enjoy my review, so check it out to make up your mind whether you should go see this movie or not. Alright, moving on to Moonfall. And Moonfall opened with $9.8 million, which was already terrible. Like, that was really, really bad, because the budget of this movie is at $146 million. It has a $146 million budget, and it opened at $9.8 million. That's just insane. That is terrible. That's incredibly bad. Like, wow, that's terrible. It also had a C+ audience score, which is also terrible. Like, that means that the audience really did not enjoy this movie at all, so that's really bad. And 75% of the audience was over 25 years, so that's to show you that this movie was appealing to all the audiences, but it did not captivate the younger audience, movie-going audience, which is really interesting. So, like I said, you had to have the younger movie-going audience to want to see this movie to be able to have a box office hit, and this movie proves it, because it didn't captivate the younger movie-going audience, meaning that this movie did flop. And part of the reason why it didn't captivate it was, yes, the promos. I don't think the promos did a great job. I don't think there was strong star power, and the word of mouth definitely wasn't good. But also, Roland Emmerich, the director of the movie, trashed Marvel, DC, and Star Wars by saying that they were ruining the market, causing everyone to not try anything original. So that definitely did not help captivate younger movie-going audiences, because first of all, he's trashing the franchises that younger movie-going audiences love: Marvel, DC, and Star Wars. Like, especially Marvel itself, I think is definitely made for like younger movie-going audiences, and I think most of the younger movie-going audiences love it, especially for like the type of audience that this movie was trying to look for. So I don't know why he would trash it. I think he just made things worse for himself. So yeah, that was itself pretty really bad. Disaster movies were already big flops pre-pandemic though, so it's not a huge surprise. However, usually they depended a lot on like how they did internationally, which I'll be going into a little bit later. However, this movie completely found in the top 10 on its third weekend, barely making $1 million, which is a huge, which means that that's a huge flop. And then this past weekend, it didn't even make $500,000, so that's just terrible. With a total domestic box office, I have $18.7 million. So clearly, the movie was not a hit domestically. However, like I said, disaster movies depend a lot on how they did or internationally or overseas. So how did this movie do overseas? Well, this movie overseas did not do any better. It actually was an absolute failure overseas, earning a total of $19.6 million, which is really, really bad. This leaves Moonfall's total box office at $38.3 million. And like I said, when you consider that this movie had a $146 million budget, this is terrible. This is terrible. So you can definitely expect Hollywood to start making disaster movies for sure. Like, I think this proves it by itself. And yeah, this movie was a huge flop. And there's one lesson that the directors can learn, is that they had to appeal to younger movie going audiences if they want a box office hit. They learn that, and then you guys have a key to a box office hit. Also, don't trash other franchises just because your movie might not do that good at the box office. That's just really bad. So don't trash any other movie franchises. I think that's terrible. Okay, moving on to the next movie, which happens to be Marvel, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home. And Spider-Man No Way Home only dipped 22.2% this past weekend, earning, which is insane. That's really insane. That's like super insane. Made third spot this past weekend. After 11 weeks, it was still on its number third spot, which is just incredible. Like, that's crazy for me. Spider-Man No Way Home is such a huge hit. The movie earned $5.8 million this past weekend domestically, for a domestic total of $779.9 million, where that means that it did beat Avatar's $760.5 million this past Valentines. It was actually on Valentine's Day, which was kind of cool. It beat Avatar's record, meaning that this movie is now the third biggest movie domestically ever of all time, and it did that in a pandemic. So that's just insane. The movie is a huge hit, and I could not believe it. Like, the movie really has had an incredible word of mouth and incredibly strong legs, which is really nice. And also, it was just incredible that the movie is still doing so much money, especially when we got announced when the movie's going to be coming on digital and Blu-ray and DVD and all that type of stuff. And the movie's still doing really good. So that's really goes to show you that movies going on, it's really love to see this movie in theaters, and the fans have been loyal to this movie, which is really great. Internationally, the movie has made $1.72 billion at the box office, so that's really good. Like, that's incredible. This means that the global total of the movie now stands at $1.852 billion, which is amazing. Like, holy crap, the movie has an amazing amount of money. Incredible. So that's a great job for this movie. I'm honestly this movie was a huge hit. If only it could have opened in China and crossed the $2 billion mark, that would have been amazing. However, China is being kind of weird with Chinese release dates, so we'll see where that goes. But still, the movie was a huge hit, and there's no denying that. And it still kept doing money even through its 11th weekend. Just goes to prove to you that the movie really was an amazing, astonishing hit. So that's great. Okay, moving on to the last movie that I'm talking about, and just it's a brief thing, and that's going to be Sing 2. And Sing 2 is truly the Jumanji of the pandemic, only dropping 20.9% despite competition this past weekend, making $2.3 million still on its 10th weekend. And it's an animated movie. It's not like Southern Way Home where it's like this big fan movie type of thing. No, it's just like a small animated type of movie, family movie. So that's really interesting. This means that the domestic total now stands at $151.3 million, which is really, really strong. Internationally, the movie has made $200.3 million, which is also really, really strong. This leaves the total box office number for Sing 2 at $351.6 million, which is just incredible for the movie. The movie has done so much money. It hasn't matched the first one yet, but of course that's because we're in a pandemic and everything. But still, it's an amazing money, which is really, really good. Disney definitely messed up, in my opinion, by putting Turning Red exclusively free to all subscribers on Disney Plus in 2 weeks from now. In 2 weeks from now, it's gonna be not this Friday, but next Friday it's gonna be on Disney Plus for free to all subscribers. And another thing that they messed up with that, I think they should have done in Encanto, where they did exclusive to theaters for the first 30 days and then they released it on Disney Plus. So they messed up there, but oh well, I think that the Turning Red could have done some pretty strong money, just like Sing 2 has been doing, especially since there's not going to be any family movie anytime soon. So Turning Red had like a free opening window. I don't know why they didn't take it. I don't know, but yeah. The Sing 2 has definitely been the Jumanji of the pandemic, which is great. And so yeah, lastly, we're going to talk about The Batman with the box office predictions for its opening weekend. And The Batman has honestly been like a really crazy movie where we really don't know where it's going to land because it's DC, it's the brand. It's been kind of interesting to see how DC has messed up the brand. The Suicide Squad did terrible box office wise, even with great word of mouth. So it's definitely a very interesting situation. However, I do think that it's going to cross $100 million opening weekend for sure. And if I had to guess, I would probably say at around $125 million. With the word open, somewhere between 115 to 125. I think that's where it's going to open. Might be a little bit over, it might be a little bit less, but I think that's where it's going to open. Unless it does incredibly well. But I think that's where it's going to open. I think that's a really strong guess. With these reviews that just came out, I definitely think that we can start to see the weaknesses of the movie, but also incredible strength, incredible word of mouth. What most people saying to please the hype. It has like an 89% of Rotten Tomatoes at the time that I checked. So I'll put the Rotten Tomatoes right now while I'm editing the video. But definitely, I do think that the movie would definitely have a very strong box office opening weekend with over $120 million opening weekend. I think it's a really strong box office, so that's great. I definitely think that The Batman's going to be a box office hit. I do think that it might be a little bit, it might have some problems against it, like the fact that it's a 3-hour runtime and the fact that it's specifically apparently a lot less for younger movie going audiences, so like a lot less for like younger viewers, like kids that want to see Batman. Apparently, it's not very appropriate for them, so they might have to get out theaters and kind of hurt that audience a little bit. But I do think that the movie is going to do great at the box office. I just think that because DC has ruined a lot of the reputation, it won't do like 150 million or anything like that. But I still think that 125 is still a really, really great number. So yeah, that's where I would put my box office prediction for the opening weekend of the Batman domestically. Tell me your own prediction down in the comments. I'm definitely very curious to hear it. And tell me when you're going to go see the movie. I'm definitely going to go see it this opening weekend because I'm so hyped. But tell me if you're going to go see it this opening weekend. Especially with it being available on HBO Max 40 days later, which is already confirmed by Warner Brothers. So are you just going to wait for HBO Max? I think some people might. So it's very interesting to see that. So just tell me that in the comments. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed my February box office breakdown. As you can see, there was a lot of releases, a lot of things to talk about. But hopefully you enjoyed it and hopefully you found it informative. And if you did, then please leave a like. It would be very, very helpful. As well as subscribe for a lot of content. I'm definitely going to be covering Batman's opening weekend next week, so subscribe for that, as well as March's box office and all that type of stuff, and just giving you a bunch of content, especially on the Batman this week. It's going to be a bunch of content on the Batman and everything, so subscribe for all that content. And also leave a comment below on which movie did you see, which movie was your favorite, and which movie are you planning to see for March, and also, like I said, your box office predictions for Batman. I'm also very curious to hear that, so tell me that down in the comments. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and this is JJ Entertainment out.